Israel just bombed Yemen. Have you ever wondered the true cause of the conflict between Israel, Gaza, Iran, and many Middle Eastern Arab countries? This is not a story that began yesterday. It is a story that began with empires, with promises, and with wars whose fire has never truly gone out. Let us travel through this history, step by step. The land we call Palestine was once part of the great Ottoman Empire. For centuries, Jews, Christians, and Muslims lived there, sometimes in peace, sometimes in tension. But the First World War changed everything. The Ottoman Empire collapsed, and Britain took control of Palestine. Here is where history planted its most dangerous seed. In 1917, Britain issued what is called the Balfour Declaration, promising the Jewish people a national home in Palestine. At the very same time, Britain had also promised the Arab leaders independence if they supported the war against the Ottomans. One land, two promises. A puzzle with no answer. As the years passed, waves of Jewish immigrants came to Palestine, many escaping persecution in Europe, and later the horrors of the Holocaust. The Arab population grew fearful. Their land was shrinking, their control slipping. Violence between Arabs and Jews became common. Britain, overwhelmed, handed the problem to the newly formed United Nations. In 1947, the UN proposed a partition: 2 states, one for Jews, one for Arabs, with Jerusalem placed under international control. The Jewish leadership accepted the plan. The Arab leadership rejected it. They felt the land was being stolen from them, especially since Arabs were the majority population at that time. In May 1948, Israel declared its independence. And immediately, armies from Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon invaded. This was the first Arab-Israeli war. Israel not only survived but expanded its territory beyond what the UN plan had given. Over 700,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes. Villages were emptied, families scattered. Palestinians call this the Nakba, the catastrophe. The Arab countries, humiliated, carried that wound. But the Palestinians carried something deeper: statelessness. Many ended up in refugee camps in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Jordan, camps that still exist to this day. The years that followed saw fragile ceasefires, but never peace. In 1956, Israel fought Egypt over the Suez Canal crisis, with Britain and France secretly supporting Israel. The Arab world saw this as proof. Israel was not just a neighbor, but a project backed by Western powers. Then came 1967. Israel, fearing attack, launched preemptive strikes against Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. In just 6 days, it captured the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. This war redrew the map of the Middle East. Palestinians who once dreamed of an independent state now found their remaining lands under Israeli occupation. The Arab nations were stunned. In 1973, Egypt and Syria struck back in what is known as the Yom Kippur War, or the October War. They regained some pride, but not all their lands. After this war, Egypt eventually signed peace with Israel in 1979, becoming the first Arab country to do so. But this peace came at a cost. Egypt was isolated from many of its Arab neighbors. Meanwhile, in 1979, a new player rose: the Islamic Revolution in Iran. Iran, once an ally of the West, now declared itself against Israel and against U.S. influence in the region. From that moment, Iran positioned itself as a defender of the Palestinian cause, supporting groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and later Hamas in Gaza. And Gaza itself, that small strip of land along the Mediterranean, became the beating heart of Palestinian resistance. After decades under Israeli occupation, Israel withdrew its soldiers and settlers in 2005. But it was not freedom. Israel still controlled Gaza's borders, airspace, and sea. In 2006, Hamas, an Islamist movement, won elections in Gaza. By 2007, It had seized full control from the Palestinian Authority. For Israel, Hamas was a terrorist group. For many Palestinians, Hamas was the only force still fighting. From that day forward, Gaza was placed under blockade by Israel and Egypt. No free movement, restricted supplies, and a population of nearly 2 million trapped in a narrow strip of land. Wars followed. In 2008, in 2014, in 2021, and now again. Each time, rockets fly out of Gaza. Each time, Israel responds with overwhelming force. Civilians suffer, buildings fall, but the cycle continues. This is why when you hear of Israel and Gaza today, you must understand it is not a simple fight over borders. It is the weight of history pressing down, a century of broken promises, decades of wars, refugees who have never returned home, Arab nations divided between peace treaties and resistance, and Iran, casting its shadow, supporting those who continue the struggle. Gaza remains at the center not because of its size, but because of its symbolism. It is a reminder of the Nakba. It is the last corner where the wound of 1948 is still bleeding. And as long as that wound remains, the conflict between Israel and Gaza and between Israel and many Arab countries will not disappear. This is the history behind the headlines. A story not of weeks or months, but of 100 years. And it is still being written today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to our channel for more untold history facts. If these walls could speak, they would tell stories of hope, despair, resilience, and dreams unfulfilled.